The opinions expressed on the Custody Queen Show are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for personal, professional legal advice. The persons discussed are fictional and not based on actual clients.
Thought it was love, had kids in between. You can count on us, we're the Custody Queens. Yeah, you can count on us, we're the Custody Queens.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back, all of our fans and listeners. We have an exciting show today because it is Love Month. You know, in the spirit of Valentine's Day, which I am not a huge fan of the Hallmark, holidays, but what I use this month is an opportunity to spend quality time with my kids. I get them a little love gift, and it's just time for the family to take a breath and just spend time with your loved ones and realize how lucky we all are to be in a new year with new challenges and new obstacles, but also new memories. So I am Kristen Holstrom.
And I'm Sam McBride.
And we are here with Tammy Martinez. Tammy Martinez is not only one of my best friends, she is also a coworker of mine for, gasp, 20 years. And she is our billing manager at Custody Queens.
Hi. Nice to meet everybody out there.
We'll get more into Tammy's story, what she does for our team, how much she means to Sam and I. But before we get there, we just want to do a little new segment we have called Say This, Not That.
Yeah, and so Kristen and I kind of thought about doing this segment because I think that there is a lot of repeatable mistakes that parents make and significant others make. So Kristen and I thought this would be a good opportunity to kind of give an example here and there so that everyone knows what we believe is a better way to handle a parenting situation. So a good example, let me go ahead and pull one up. A good example of say this, not that would be if I was to say, every time Ethan comes home, he stinks. Why don't you make him take a shower? And I would be saying that as a parent to my co-parent. Kristen, what do you think about that?
I first want to just note that this isn't just for people that are going through litigation or through a custody case. This is just communication skills that make you a better communicator in general. And this is something that I truly have to work on every single day because I am a very emotional person. So depending on how someone comes at me is generally I respond with the same manner. So this is something I work on as well. But the way that I would handle that, Sam, is I would tell the other parent something like this. Johnny, is there any way you can make sure that little Billy gets bathed tonight so that way he's ready for school tomorrow? That way, I am one, making sure that the other parent knows that our child needs to take a shower during his time. And two, I'm not coming at it from a super aggressive approach that is going to invite a combative response.
Yeah, I mean, it's accusatory versus solution oriented. If you accuse someone of doing something, even if it's true, your instinct is to defend yourself. And so I think you're putting yourself in a situation where you're not really going to resolve conflict. Like, I could be late, but if I'm late and you're yelling at me for being late right out of the gate, I'm going to be defensive. Well, this is what happened, or last time you were late. And so I don't think it's a good way to open up. I always say, I don't know if I've told you about this, Kristen, but I have something called a hamburger technique. Have I told you about this? No. Okay, so a hamburger, I tell this to my clients and myself, but a hamburger is when you're having a conversation with somebody and you say the bun is the two good parts and then the meat is the problem, right? So like, and they're valid parts. It's not supposed to be fake, but like, hey, I think we can really work on making a solution with hygiene. I'm concerned that this is going on and this is how I can do better, right? And so if you open up a situation to allow somebody to really understand, like, look, I'm not trying to attack you, but here's a problem, then I think that you're better off in a conversation.
Yeah, and we get a lot of people that call us about these issues, and just they come up in almost every case we have. And it doesn't take long for me to review a month of text messages to figure out if you're part of the problem or you're part of the solution. And most people going through litigation are already emotional. They're already, in a volatile space. And so their reaction and that the way that they communicate is usually a little elevated. So I'll have a client call me and say, every time our baby comes back from mom, she has a diaper rash. So she's causing the diaper rashes. Sam, what would be a better way to address that issue than accusing the other parent of being the one that gave the baby a diaper rash?
Yeah, I mean, I first would maybe take causation out of it. You notice something about your child and you want to reach out and see how both of you can do better. And then you can potentially escalate it from there. But when you go straight for the jugular and you're attacking someone and you're saying something like every single time, you're now almost and you're likely inflating the situation. To say every single time this happens is probably not accurate. So you're then kind of needing to take some accountability on your side for being too harsh. And you got to act to get the consequence you want, right? So if you're just telling someone, hey, you're doing this wrong, be better, how is that other person going to perceive that? They're going to spend all day thinking that you're a jerk and thinking and having shower conversations with themselves about what they want to say back to you or what they really think about you. It's not productive.
Yeah, if you just want to make someone mad, that's the easiest way to do it, is send them a text and be accusatory and blame them. If you actually want to solve the problem with the hygiene or the diaper rashes or making sure that the clothes are exchanged, then come from the perspective of, this is what we can do better. I noticed that this happened. For instance, if your child comes back and has a bruise and you don't know where it came from, instead of saying, little Billy came back with a bruise, I know you're hitting him. Okay, how about you come from the approach, I noticed a bruise on Billy's arm. Do you know how this happened? Do you see the difference? You're inviting a response and you're co-parenting at the same time. And hopefully, Billy just fell and, like a lot of little kids do, and has a bruise.
Yeah, and if you spend all your time attacking the other parent, they're not ever going to be honest with you either. Not for nothing. If you think you're going to get accused of child abuse every time that your child, falls off a bike and has a bruise, it's going to shut down your communication and your line of communication.
Yeah, so that's just a little tip that we wanted to, get out there. And again, this is real life stuff. Guys, this is something you should do when you're having a conversation with anyone. And I've learned a lot over this last year through the pandemic and all of the changes and all of the challenges. I have learned to try to provide solutions rather than fixating on problems. So if I notice that I have an employee that's 15 minutes late every day, and, I know that traffic happens. I know that there's a lot of unknown circumstances that may cause that employee to be late. But instead of me going to them and saying, I notice every single day you're late 15 minutes, we're going to go ahead and write you up. What does that do? That does nothing except create a conflict in our relationship with me and the employee. So what a better approach for me is, hey, I noticed that you're coming in about 15 minutes later than your start time. Is there some sort of circumstance that I'm unaware of? Because sometimes employees need to drop their kids off at school or daycare. How about we move your start time back 15 minutes? Okay, now we all know that may fix the problem for that person. And some people just have a pattern of being 15 minutes late. So we can't fix all the problems, but that's what I've learned as a person, as a mother, as a professional, is that I'm really trying to get past my emotional responses and actually try to be part of the solution in all aspects of my life. All right, now Tammy, I love that we have Tammy here. Anyone who's been our client or been part of our CQ team, everybody loves Tammy. And the ironic thing is that Tammy is our billing manager. So Tammy is the one that works with our clients on making sure that their bills are paid, making sure that we're on a plan that is appropriate for the client and for us as attorneys. So I don't know how many people can ask for money and still be loved by almost everybody.
She does a good job.
Thank you.
So Tammy, tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and how you joined us.
Well, my name's Tammy Martinez. I'm a single mother of 4 children. I actually started with the company 20 years ago right in the beginning of my first divorce, and my sister was an attorney there. I had been a stay-home mom for about 3 years and decided to get back into the working force. I started out as a receptionist with the firm, and then I slowly moved my way up, and now I'm the billing manager.
So just to age us a little bit, I graduated college in 2003, and I had always worked for, my dad, divorce authority, Dane Holstrom. I had always, worked for him on breaks and summers and all that. And so I had just graduated, moved home from Florida, and I was starting law school the following semester. So I actually took Tammy's place as the receptionist because we didn't have anyone at the time. And that would be almost 20 years ago. That's actually 19 years to be exact. So that's how long Tammy and I have been friends.
Yeah, and I will say this about Tammy, and Kristen is absolutely right. Everyone that knows Tammy loves Tammy. Tammy has gone through a lot, and she shows up, and I always kind of check my attitude at the door when I see Tammy because Tammy's always getting through it. She's always getting through it. She always has a smile on her face. She's walking around. She's getting stuff done, and it's a really admirable quality.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So Tammy, tell our listeners what it's been like going through, post-divorce, going through the emotions, being a single parent. Kind of tell our listeners, who you are.
Well, I will say that I'm a very positive person. I choose to always look at the brighter side of things. I'm kind of the believer in things happen for a reason, even if I may not understand that reason. I come from a really large family, and I think that kind of is where I get my positivity because I have so many people to lean on. And I'm not a big fan of blood is family. It's the people that, to me, are there through the good, the bad, the ugly, the fun, everything. And so as I started my journey with this company and met Kristen, and then slowly, it got introduced to Sam, they have both been through two of my journeys, which has made my life better because it gave me a different perspective on how others see me and how I was seeing myself. So, working mom, my kids are my whole life. I love them with every ounce of me. They're my greatest accomplishment, but I will tell you that being a single mom is hard. There are days when I think I'm not doing the greatest job, and then there's days when I think I'm killing it. But every day that I, go to sleep at night, I just thank God I got one more day to go, and hopefully it'll be better.
So do you just take it one day at a time? What's your secret?
I take it 1 minute at a time. With a large family, you just never know what's going to happen. So based on my life, I take it 1 minute at a time, and I'm more positive, I think, with other people's situations, so that I probably look like I got it all together, but I don't, like anybody else. I like to keep that part of me separate so that I don't bring anyone down. I'm more of an upper.
And that is entirely true about Tammy. Tammy and I have pretty much grown up together if you look at, the last 19, 20 years. And the last year and a half, I know that Tammy has been through probably one of the worst years in her life, yet she still has the ability to be a parent, to look on the bright side. I mean, we're talking about someone that has gone through a divorce, has, the other parent who is completely non-existent in the relationship by his choice. And so she has taken on the role of both mom and dad. She has, one child that is in the Navy. He's obviously an adult, but that's a huge transition for, a mom having all 4 babies at home. And I am so proud of Philip. He is doing his thing in Virginia. And, Tammy lost her dad this last, year. And when I look at her and I look at her strength, it too reminds me that this too shall pass. Tomorrow will be a better day. And I always tell Tammy that when I look at her and I see her strength, it's incredible. And that's something I like to do with my clients is I want them to see themselves in a more positive light. The divorce doesn't define you. The custody case doesn't define you.
Yeah, and I think it's really important too, like Tammy was saying, take it 1 minute at a time or 1 second at a time. It's important to understand that when you're going through a divorce or you're going through a custody case, your world can come shattering down, but there's still things you can do throughout the day to positively progress. And it may seem like they're small things like making your bed, taking a shower, taking care of yourself, getting up, getting to work. And those may each in and of themselves seem like not big things, but before you know it, you'll start to get yourself back on track and back to a new normal. I mean, your divorce case or your custody case could linger on for a really long time. And so you have to be prepared for that. And sometimes I find that if you look at the whole situation, everything that's going wrong, the places that you need to be all at once, it can consume you. And so you really got to take it one step at a time. And I think that you're a good example of that.
Yeah, I actually followed Tammy's lead on that. You know, it's funny when anyone asks me, what do you have going on March 4th? And I just look and first look for my assistant to tell me. And then they go, you don't know your calendar? I said, I don't look too far out on my calendar because it gives me really bad anxiety. You know, because if you looked at any given day, it's like this child has to be there. There's a parent-teacher conference. Oh, I'm in court. How do I get Riley to soccer? How do I get Brody to this? And it's very overwhelming. And when you add going through a court process on top of what we all do every day, it is very overwhelming. So outside of my trial dates or my court hearings, I am kind of like, well, someone will tell me what I need to do. And it's, you know, it's been a rough, I think it's been a rough, you know, journey for all of us, but we have to keep doing things that allow us for personal growth.
Well, and I would challenge everyone out there. I challenge myself to do this because we all kind of start wheeling and kind of overanalyzing situations. I would challenge you and everyone, I do it for myself, and it's helpful to say to yourself, like, how can I help my thought right now? If I can't help it right now, then this is a waste of my time. I can't worry about the trial that's 6 months down the line right now because it's going to distract from what I need to do today. So the more we can push kind of away from the idea that we can handle it all in our head all at one time, I think the better. And it's helped me provide a little bit of clarity because if you know me, you know I will get trapped in going, I have this next week, this Tuesday, this Wednesday, this Thursday, I can never do it all. And then it comes and goes and we handle it and we do it, you know, and I'm not doing more than the person sitting next to me at all. We're all going through a lot. We all have 100 things to juggle. I don't have children. So, I mean, I look at Kristen and I look at Tammy and I don't know how they get that done, right? Because I'm like,
we don't. You just do it.
Kristen's kind of looking at. I'm like, I brushed my teeth today. I'm winning, you know, and I'm thinking I could never handle the additional hours, but you know, you just do. And so I admire you both for that. I think that's incredible, but I do think we all need to slow down. It's for me, I need to slow down, right, and take smaller steps.
Yeah, and just realize the little things. There's so much in our world and in our life that is in our control, and then there's a lot that's out of our control. You know, and this yesterday morning I was getting out of the shower, and you know, my husband comes running up and he's like, we have bad news. Do you want to hear it? And I'm like, my husband can be a little bit dramatic, and my husband actually works on Tammy's team. And I said, just give it to me. And he said, we have a slab leak. And for anyone listening, know that can be, you know, expensive. It can be a process. And he looks at me, I'm like, okay, do we call someone? You know, and he's like, you're not worrying about it? I said, no, out of all of the things that are in my control, this is not one of them. Right. And what is me stressing out, crying, freaking out about, you know, financial stuff? It's not going to solve anything. So.
And I am a total big believer in that. Things happen. Once they happen, you can't change it, so you just keep going forward. And I'm a believer that you wake up every day and you make a choice. I choose to wake up and be happy. It's not easy, but I choose it. It's a choice. And that's what I teach my kids. You can have a good day or a bad day, but the only person that decides that is yourself.
I love that. You know, I could always listen to Tammy. She's always got good life advice. And she has given me many pep talks over the last year. But one of the things that Sam and I do when we hire people for our team, or we pick, you know, the right person for the right job, is we want to make sure that that person is going to truly evidence our mission statement, right, and what we're here for. We are not, you know, a one-size mass law firm that, you know, turn and burn. We can do everybody's case. We try to have an attorney that is the right fit for every case and every budget, but we also want an attorney who knows that client, knows what their kids' names are, knows how to educate that client and how to move forward. There are so many attorneys out there that will take your money, probably do a decent job at court, but I guarantee you they will not pick up your phone on a Saturday. They probably don't care what your kids' names are. And from every position in our office, from Sam and I to our associates, to our other senior litigators, to our front desk, to our billing manager, I want someone who is empathetic, understanding, communicates well, and can really create a relationship with our client. And Tammy does an incredible job with that, being our billing manager. What does that mean, Tammy, being our billing manager?
Well, to be honest, what you just said is exactly how I feel. When I meet these clients for the first time and I have to call them and they've just retained, and I obviously am a little more empathetic because I've actually gone through it, so I kind of understand what it's like. But they've already built a relationship with you as attorneys, and so I want them to have the same type of relationship with billing. There are going to be things that happen, and they may be great payers, or right now they have a lot of money or they don't, but things turn around. Life changes up and down. So I kind of treat the billing like that. I want to know you. I want to understand your situation, and each person's different, and that's how I treat them when it comes to the billing. They're not just somebody. They're the somebody that makes sure that we are still working. And I want to treat them the same way that I would want to be treated if it was me on the other end of the phone. So I try to make it a little more personal, which kind of probably seems a little weird for most people, but I don't want it to be as I'm a collector. I want it to be that we're getting things done kind of person.
It's like she's another team member. You know, our team is, we have Sam, myself, or whoever your attorney is. There's generally a case manager, there might be a paralegal, and Tammy and her team, because she does manage a few people, they are part of our team. And
Right.
Something I try to do as an attorney, and a lot of attorneys have problems with talking about money with their clients. And I look at it completely the opposite. I want to know what my client's financial situation is. I want to know if we're focusing on something that's the most important aspect. I want to know what that person's priority is, right? So then I can focus on the strategy of the case and how to use that client's money in the best way. But I want to know if you got COVID. I'm human. I'm very empathetic. We will work with you. I can't stress enough how important each team member is to the whole Custody Queens team.
Yeah, and also, there's a lot of law firms out there that they don't want to talk about money with you. They don't want to talk about some of the harder issues, but you have to navigate each case and each family's life and look at it from a holistic point of view. There is a financial aspect of it, not just from your attorney fees. Where are you going to live when you're splitting a house? Are you going to move into a new house? Who's going to pay your bills? Who's going to pay the cell phone? Who's going to make sure the children don't have to go without, right? And so there are these hard and difficult questions, and everyone can kind of sweep them under the rug, but they're just going to create bigger issues. So it's important for us to understand where you're at and what we can do effectively. And like Kristen said, when she's talking about like, what are we prioritizing? There are certain things in every case that can be solved by settlement or by staying out of court. And there are other things that just simply can't. And there are extreme situations, there are abuse situations, there are high conflict situations that require us to go into court or to handle things. And we want to know all those aspects. We don't want you to be going through any part of it alone.
And to feed on those two things, I think that's why we work also well together, because with you guys being so communicative with our team, it helps us understand where the clients are at also. So when we first make that initial call, we've got a background of where this client is because we communicate it, and then we know, be a little sensitive on this area, or, be a little sterner, and it helps. It makes it an easier transition for them to talk to us.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever had a client that didn't like Tammy. And I say that because it's ironic. Just, usually we don't like people that are calling and asking for our credit card number. But she just handles it in a way. And Tammy will often tell me facts that, I may have not talked to my client in a few weeks because we don't have anything on calendar. And she might come to me and say, hey, did you know such and such? So we really all are a big team, and I couldn't ask for a better billing manager, not even just as a billing manager, as a human being. And she really is just a picture of positivity, and someone I know personally has gone through so many life challenges and still come out on the other side.
Thank you. That was very nice.
So, Tammy, an issue that we've been dealing with in custody quite a bit, and I'm going to switch from the billing manager hat to the co-parenting hat. Your co-parenter hasn't really been in the picture, so it's kind of all been put on you. But are there any issues over the last couple years that you've kind of had to question yourself as a mom? How do I do this? How do I make sure I get the best results for my child? Kind of walk us through any things that have happened that you've learned from.
Well, I think the most I've learned from as being a mom and a dad is that I'm not going to be a friend. I'm a parent. I will be their friend later in life when they become a parent and they understand all the hard things I've had to deal with. But I think having a child with, I guess, a medical condition and not having the other parent there and having to take it all on, and that's probably one of the scariest things as a parent you go through is your kid's sick and you can't fix it. I'm not a doctor, I can't change the facts. And not having that extra someone to kind of put it on for 5 minutes so you can just catch your breath so your kid doesn't see that you're freaking out inside. So I've learned to, I guess, co-parent with my children. We are a team. And with having 4 and 2 older and 2 younger, it kind of helps because the older ones pick up the slack when mom's having a moment, and we kind of all talk things through together and we suggest things together. And then as a family, we make the decision what's best for all of us, because at the end of the day, it's going to affect all of us. And I kind of like that because I'm hoping the things that I'm learning from them and that they learn from me, they'll take off, with their families one day. And the things that my parents taught me, I'm hoping I'm instilling in them.
We all hope our kids kind of take the best of us, the best things we do as parents, and then, our mistakes.
Forget those.
They can make their own mistakes, you know?
Right.
I always say that out of all the things I'm screwing up with my children, when I see, one of my kids just be a really good human, I remind myself that I'm doing an okay job in that area too. But Tammy, has any of your children kind of gone through anything that, you've had to learn through the process as well?
Yes. So I am a mother of, at one time, 3 girls and 1 son. And right at the beginning of COVID, my child, Hayden, came about to tell me that he wanted to transition and become a he. And most parents probably would have freaked out, maybe not sure what to say. I was really surprised that my child was scared to tell me at first, because I felt like, did I not let my child know that no matter what, I love you? And then when he told me and he saw my reaction, he was just like, whew, can't believe you don't care. And it's like, it's not that I don't care. I love you. You can be anything. I'm still gonna love you. And the way my children embraced it, and my entire family and friends, because I did reach out to my friends, like I'm already online searching up, all the sites and how can I do this good and say the right things and the right words. And I had never felt so much love and connection that I was so proud as a mom. I felt like I'm doing something right because it never changed our family unit. All it did was give us more insight to new things.
Yeah, and this is an issue that's coming up in some of our custody cases right now, or divorces. And what I can say is I could only hope that I would have handled it with such grace, as Tammy did. Because when she called me and told me, I even had to take a deep breath. And then, we reminded each other that, he is Hayden. And that doesn't change. And my children, embraced it, and we love the person. So I can only hope that as a parent, I would handle that situation with as much grace as Tammy did. And this episode just went way too fast.
As always.
I think we'll have to have Tammy on for a part 2 to get more in depth of how we learn from our children. I think we learn more from our children than I teach my children. I firmly believe that. I learn things from my children about me as a mother, about me as, an attorney, and things that I am really good at, and things that, I probably need another year of therapy to work on. So that's just a whole another segment on what our parents teach us. But I want to thank Tammy for joining us today as one of our Custody Queen's best friends, as a client, and as our billing manager. But most of all, our friend.
And a good friend at that.
Thank you guys for having me.
So when you're calling 1-800-419-7772 to have a consult with us or to have a case assessment regarding strategy, you will be connected to Tammy as well. Remember, that's 1-800-419-7772. And make sure you follow us on Instagram for all of our giveaways.
And as always, make sure you tune in every Saturday at 8:30 a.m. on Go Country 105.
And remember, let love rule.